I have chosen to address the media today in Soroti in view of a teething problem that threatens to engulf entire regions, beginning from the Midwestern, West Nile region, Acholi sub-region, and now something that we in teso are affected by. And this is to do with mineral exploration with a focus on movement of people across this region who are herding cows. Many have described them as Balalo. Some have even described them as foreigners who have invaded our country. All I can say is that there are people who have come into teso a second time in nearly 20 years. It will be recalled that around about 2006, cattle keepers came to the wetlands of teso and they took over these wetlands, degraded the environment through overgrazing, and caused a big inconvenience to the farming community. They came with diseases that affected the stock of livestock in this region, and it took an effort of the leaders to drive them out of this place. And I do remember that the then RDC, Mr. Etweru, now the Honorable Minister for Amuriat, for the Honorable Minister for State for Works, and MP for Amuriat, took a key role in causing this to happen, together with the teso parliamentary group that I headed at the time. What then happened is that the marauding cattle keepers went to Bulisa, caused mayhem in Bulisa, huge inconvenience to the population, with a resultant displacement of the indigenous communities. This did not stop there. The same people, group of people with the same formation, proceeded to the West Nile region of this country, in the areas of Rhino Camp and Inobongi, in a fashionable manner along the Nile, where today we know there are huge reserves of oil. They then proceeded to the east of the Nile in the north, invading Acholi, where until recently thousands of cows resided in the areas of Acholi, particularly in Atiak and Lakang, in Amur. Again, areas that are oil rich. It took the effort of leaders, including the Chief Justice, to sound an alarm over the schemes intended to deprive the people of Acholi of their lands. Today, as we speak, in a similar fashion, I now know that cattle keepers who do not come from this part of the country have gone to Abu, wetland area. They are in Kapujan, they are in Ongomoja. Just only yesterday, as I was driving through Mukura, there were hundreds of cows with long horns just outside the trading center in Mukura, the town council, within the town council. And curiously, and I took pictures, recorded this, these cattle keepers are being guarded by the police force. I asked the policemen on site whether the cows they were guarding belong to government. And they said to me, these cows belong to individuals. And I asked them what their business was, protecting cows belonging to individuals. I see two things in what is happening today in our country associated with these marauding cattle keepers. One is that communities have systematically been impoverished. And in this country, make no mistake about this, there are two classes of individuals. There is the royal class that are stinking rich, they have everything, sucking the blood of the downtrodden, who are languishing in poverty. They have acquired property, including land, using wrongful means. Causing massive displacement of communities who inevitably have got to find somewhere to go. This has caused massive displacement of the poor, who, because they crave for a better future for their children, in terms of education, family upkeep, have had to do away with their treasured possession, and that is land. And therefore, cattle keepers have to find somewhere to go. And the rich, especially the generals in the army, find it appropriate to use force and to get these people as far as possible from the land that they have acquired, so that a clause in the law that would favor the local communities to repossess land that is unutilized does not affect them. That is issue number one. Issue number two is a high level of speculation. Wherever mineral or oil reserves are discovered. And that is what is happening in West Nile, in Acholi, and now happening in Teso. These communities, apart from taking away possession from the indigenous communities, are also have invaded communal grazing lands. Land that is supposed to benefit the local community. They have also invaded government pieces of land, reserves, and caused overgrazing that has the effect of causing massive environmental degradation. And so it's not uncommon to see that the areas of Bweri, Amolo, and Kapujan are rendered bare where grass is supposed to be growing today. These speculators use innocent herdsmen and sometimes people who have nowhere to go to cause a crisis in an area in order for the wealthy people to purchase land belonging to local communities. Now, this is the 21st century. Where we claim to have a civilized government in place, led by Mr. Museveni. And yet, people are allowed to roam around. The question I would like to ask people in government is that who are these people moving around the country under the protection of government functionaries? If they are refugees, they should be in refugee camps. As we've been told, some of them are refugees. It's against any protocol for refugees to be moving around freely. Moreover, with thousands of cows. If they are Ugandans who have been displaced, as I understand, some of them are, they need to be settled down. Some 70 prides of settling his people in Yamshozi and Kirugura. People who used to lead nomadic lives, who today are settled in farms, modern farms. If he cares about the people of the North and the Middle East, he should not allow, his government should not be allowing people to roam around with cows. I remember that around about 2006, we pushed Parliament of Uganda to de-gazette the Bokora corridor. Because of pressure, population pressure on our land in this part of the country. And that was meant to benefit the local communities, not any other community. It is also despicable to note that in all these, the security agencies are involved. RDCs are involved. And you've heard about how RDCs were involved in signing agreements for land acquisition. What role would an RDC be playing in helping somebody to acquire land, and moreover becoming a signatory to some of these transactions? I also would like to assert that it is in the scheme of this government to continue keeping the North and the Northeast under the yoke of power. Therefore, making our people vulnerable and very easy to dispossess them of their land. It's also very unkind of some local leaders who have turned against their people, even in Teso, to collude with these cattle keepers in causing mayhem in the sub-region. And therefore, my clarion call today to the government of Uganda is for them to cause this planned movement of people herding cattle to stop forthwith. If this does not happen, this could be a recipe for insecurity. It could be a recipe for an uprising in these regions. And it takes a small spark for this to happen. We are not talking about rocket science in this. We are talking about very, very basic things where we expect a standard in the western part of the country to apply to the east and to the north. Today we see double standards being applied in the case of environmental protection. And I have reports that during the demarcation of wetlands in this part of the country, the law talks about 50 meters upland from the wetland. But in some cases, the authorities are imposing 100 meters and depriving the local communities of their pieces of land. Whereas people are being driven from the swamps or wetlands here in Teso and Bukedi, some parts of the north, investors are being given swaths of land around Lake Victoria. And an example is the wetland in Luera, where powerful people have given thousands of acres of land to Chinese to grow rice. And yet our local population here are not allowed to grow rice in the wetlands. So long as these double standards continue to exist, we have got a right to tell our people to go back to the wetlands. We have. What is good for the goose is good for the gander. Why should Mr. Museveni's government think that investors are more important than the citizens of this country? My call is also to the leaders of teso, entrusted with the responsibility of leading our people. I am happy that some districts have taken action to drive out these marauding people who have intruded this region. But you know, they are being chased from Agu and told you can go to Kumi and continue beyond that. Honorable Kudo yesterday went to another operation, said now you can go towards Bisina. That is not sustainable solution. There is a need for the voices of our leaders coming from this region to be heard. Many of them are in a cocoon at the moment, terrified to speak out for their people just because they are in NRM. And we have big drums coming from teso. Where are they? We don't hear their voices. Some of what I am talking about affects their communities directly. But they are silent. If the Chief Justice of Uganda can speak about negative tendencies towards his community, what stops the Vice President of Uganda, the Speaker of Uganda, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Uganda, these many ministers, given to this region, from speaking out for their people? I remember in the election of 2021, there was a crusade across this region to color the whole region yellow. And indeed, at the level of member of parliament, there's a huge majority that belongs to NRM, who have now let down the people of teso. I am sure it is important for all communities affected by this to borrow a leaf from our friends in Acholi, who have nearly successfully spoken for their people. Although the reports that we received is that only a quarter of the population that had invaded Acholi has left. 3/4 still remain in Acholi. I also want to call on Mr. Museveni to stop the pretense, because that's what he is doing. Today he is ordering the so-called Balalo to leave. But these people are moving in circles. They seem to go, but they come back to the same point. He has even given them leverage and said, so long as somebody fences a piece of land, then they can be allowed to stay. Somebody buying 2 acres of land and coming with 3,000 cows. What are they fencing? A corral, a simple corral? Where will those cows graze from? So in concluding, I want to warn the local authorities. Whether this is the itesos, some of our leaders who are colluding with these people who are causing mischief, who have got mischievous intentions, desist from aiding and abetting these fights. I also want to caution some 7 years in this government not to wage war on the citizens of this country. Because this is what they are doing in this scheme of depriving people of their asset, the most treasured asset to any community. I also want to make a call on the leaders of teso especially to speak out for their people. Because unless they do that, they are going to be judged harshly in the election of 2026. I thank you. Talks to the Vice President specifically, but yes, I have spoken to some of the leaders. Some of them really seem voiceless, which is very unfortunate because then you wonder whom they are serving. Whether they are serving the authority in their party or they are serving the people who put them in those positions. And this is why I'm challenging all of them to act for and on behalf of the people, not to serve other masters. Because their being in those positions depend on the people who voted them. And they should be mindful of their legacy. Leadership has got an expiry date. And there comes a time when you are out of leadership. How do you want to be remembered as a leader? If you are going to allow this kind of abuse to continue, wanton degradation to happen, that has got ripple effects that are far-fetched. So yes, I have spoken. Indeed, some of the information that I have given was volunteered by some of the leaders. Some of it I sourced myself. And I can confirm that this region is in deep trouble if nothing is done. And it's a reason why I have also said that if the leaders are not prepared to provide leadership in respect to this specifically, we in the FDC will provide leadership, whether we're elected or not elected. We'll provide leadership on this without fear or favor. Thank you so much.